Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well, having a great week. Today's video is going to focus on something a little bit different, something we haven't touched on before. It actually comes as a request that I received, I think last week. Somebody asked me to do a video on how to install something called Firefly 3. Now, I'd never heard of this, so I did a little research, and as it turns out, it is a free and open source personal finance manager. I don't have really much experience with it, but there are, if we look at the website here, there are some screenshots here where you can kind of see different things that it will do, like full transaction management, budget, categories, tags, that sort of thing. I believe there is the option to have some of this automated, but I think some of it may have to be done through CSV files. I'm not really sure about all of the details on that. Again, this is just something somebody asked me to show how to get installed. So originally when I started doing this, I dug around a little bit and I found one way to do it on Docker, and then this morning when I was getting ready to do this video, I thought I found another way to do it also on Docker, but using a different sort of stack. Whole thing, I spent the last couple of hours messing around with that, trying to get the other stack to work, because I thought it might be easier, but I'm still having quite a bit of problems with it. So I want to show at least the way that I know works, but the problem that we're going to run into is none of this is going to happen in Portainer as far as setting things up. What we're going to do is actually upload a couple of files or build a couple of files on our server. You can do that either way you'd like, and I'll show what I mean there. But we're going to kind of do a lot of it either in Notepad or in an SSH command, and then we're going to deploy, and then we'll jump over to Portainer to take a look and make sure everything's working the way we want it to work. So, so what we're going to do, also, I should just note here, I will have links to all of this down below, but obviously the Firefly 3 website, they've got a whole bunch of documentation here that you can take a look at. In fact, this is one of the things that I was messing with earlier, trying to get that to work, but I was spending too much time fighting with it, so we're going to go a different route that I verified that works. But lots of good stuff in their documentation. They've also got a Docker page, of course. And of course, here I've got my Portainer up and running, and basically nothing in it. This is actually a new little box that I got set up. So anyway, let's jump over here. Let's minimize this to start with. So basically what we've got here, oops, of course it opened in the wrong window, is I've got this Firefly 3 folder here, and I've got a couple of files in here. One is a Docker Compose. If I open that with Notepad, of course, wrong window again. So basically here you can see this is a version 3.3. The reality is there's a good chance that this would work on a different version, except that we've got this environmental variables file here that it's trying to import, and that is this file right here. We will take a look at that in a moment. So if we come back over to here, so we've got our services. It's going to be Firefly JC5X's Firefly latest image is what we're going to pull. We've got two volumes that we're going to have, one for exports, one for uploads. You can map those pretty much wherever you'd like to map them. This is where I'm going to map them for the time being. Again, like I said, we're going to import this environmental variables folder, or file rather. We're going to put this on port 8003. It defaulted to 8080. When I first started messing with this, I had a bunch of stuff, or sorry, when I first started messing with this, I had something on 8080, so I changed it, but you can make that port whatever you'd like. Depends on database, links, database. Here is the database. We're going to use a Yoba Systems Alpine Moray database. We've got the root user is going to have a random password that's set to yes. Then we've got our MySQL user password and database, and of course where we're going to mount that database will be here in varlib. So all of this is what's going to build that initial container, but in order to connect, and change some things, what we're going to do is open this with Notepad also, and then we'll scroll up. So there's a lot of stuff in here. You can kind of go through this as you'd like, but really the only thing we've got to make sure that we do is we scroll down to right here and make sure that if we change the database password, the database name, password, and whatnot. I guess I've already got that open there. Two separate things there. So Right here, we've got the MySQL user, the MySQL password, the MySQL database. For security reasons, you should change these just because these are defaults. You want to change those, but whatever you change, these three too, you'll also come over to this environmental variable and change the corresponding variable here as well. Beyond that, you don't really need to mess with anything in here unless you're trying to set this up for different use. Right now, we're just doing a very basic install. We are going to use MySQL, so we're not going to worry about, I mean, you could install it at MySQL SSL if you wanted to do that. You could do Postgre, or however that's pronounced, SQL. Again, same thing. If you wanted to add an SSL to that, you could. So there's some stuff in here. If you wanted to receive mail notifications, you could, of course, update this kind of information in here for, your Gmail or whatever your SMTP mail server is. You would update that. If you're using Mailgun, of course, you can put all of that in there. There's a lot of stuff in here to get notifications and that sort of thing. So just scroll through here and check out the things you need to check out that apply to you, make the appropriate changes, and save that file. Again, everything else in here should be fine once you modify your volumes and your credentials here. But beyond that, we can go ahead and close this. So there are two different things that you could do here. The first being that you could open up like PuTTY or an SSH program, and log in. So we'll do Tanix, .local, and then root, and my password. That's the wrong password. There we go. So like from here, you could make a directory and call it Firefly 3, and then cd into that directory, and then you could do a nano.env, and then you could open this file up, copy that, come back over to here, paste it in there. This app URL doesn't matter, like it says up here, it doesn't matter. So we'll do a Control-O and a Control-X, and then we could do a nano docker compose .yml, like so. And then again, same thing here. We would just come over here, copy this, paste that in there, do a Control-O, Control-X, and then we could do a docker compose up -d. Yeah, so that actually didn't copy well. So that's why I don't like to do it this way. What I'm going to do, though, is close this. Okay. I'm going to open up a WinSCP. Like so. We'll do the same thing. Tanix.local, and then root, and my password. I actually need to delete. Oh, that's actually the folder that we just created here. So what I'm going to do is actually delete both of these. And then from my desktop, I'm just going to drag these over. I will make these files available to download, or they'll be available on GitHub. I'll have them both available, however you'd like to access them that way. So now that we've got that, now we can come back over here to PuTTY and log in. I wish it would stop doing that. Root. And then cd into Firefly, and then docker compose up -d. So now it's going to go ahead and pull everything that it needs, so I can start closing some of this stuff out. We'll close that, and we'll close that, and we'll close that. And that cleans that up quite a bit. So now we can just kind of hang out and wait for this to pull everything and create the different volumes and that sort of thing. And then once it does that, we will jump into Portainer and take a look at what it's doing. Okay, so now that it's done with that, we can jump over to here. We can refresh this page. Now we've got a couple new containers running in there. Let's start with the database. That should be fine, I think. Let's look over here. Okay, so it's actually already connected. So that's good. This means everything is installing correctly. Now it's going through and making some adjustments, making some changes. So we'll give this just another minute, and then here in a second it'll say something about Apache being in the foreground, I believe, something about being in the foreground. And then we should be able to jump over and take a look at the dashboard. All right, Apache's in the foreground. So what we'll do is we'll come back and then we'll just click right here. Okay, so we'll enter. So here's something that I find a little frustrating. That is that I've got a default password that I use for these videos. So when I'm going through and setting this up, I don't have to create a new password for each individual application because I'm not going to host it out in the wilderness. So it's safe here with my default password. The problem is when I use that password, it fails because your password here needs to be 16 characters long at least. And my default dummy password is not that long. So in order to get this to work, what I'm going to do is just come up here to Bitwarden. I'm going to generate a password. I don't want one that long. That's fine. Let's do that. We'll do a copy. Then we'll paste that in there, and then we'll click register. And there we go. So now we're logged in. You'll want to, of course, make sure that you make note of that password somewhere if your password manager doesn't ask you to save right there. So then we can just say my bank and then the balance. Of course, you can change this to whatever your currency is that's supported here. I'm going to say US dollars. I'm going to say $1 million or something. Sure, let's make it 10 million. And then same like that. And then we'll click submit. And then from here, it basically we'll go through and walk you through step by step all of the different features and functions of the application. So, we can just kind of click through next. If you're already familiar, you can click skip, or if you need to go back, you can click previous. So they've got all kinds of good information in here to get used to the software. So definitely take a look through that if you're interested in using Firefly 3 as a finance manager that you self-host. So overall, not too complicated, just definitely a different process that we had to go through in order to make this work. So hopefully you found the video helpful. I know this was kind of a weird one-off, but if you found the video helpful, do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up. It would help me out a bunch. If you've got other ideas for applications you'd like to see, leave that in the comments. I'd love to know what you guys are interested in instead of just waiting for me to think of something or find something. If you guys are interested in a specific container or application, let me know, and I'd be happy to take a look at making that video for you. But I think with all of that, like I said, all of this will be available in the description down below. There will also be links to both Ko-fi and Patreon. Both of those are ways that you can support the channel. The Patreon has a few different levels at which you can subscribe. The $3 level will give you, the $3, $5, and $10 levels will all give you access or early access to my content when I get it uploaded and ready to go before it launches. I don't think that's going to happen today, unfortunately. But if you're interested in supporting the channel through Patreon, or Ko-fi, that's like a one-time tip jar. All of that will be in the description as well. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. As always, thanks for your time. I always appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you in the next video.